Fame, if you win it, comes and goes in a minute. Where's the real stuff in life to cling to?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Boomer Pod podcast, where we interview movie and TV celebrities. Our guest today is stunt performer, coordinator, and actor Jean-Francois Lachapelle.
Hello.
Welcome, JF. May I
Thank
call you JF?
Thanks for having me. I'm very thrilled to do this. So this will be fun.
Is it okay if I call you JF?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Go ahead. Everyone calls me JF, so it's good.
Thank you for being with us today on the Boomer Pod. What other career paths did you try before getting into film?
Well, I'll say my background was martial arts. So I started as a karate practitioner. I started at 4 years old, so I was quite young. Did a lot of tournaments, became in a sort of short story, became world champion when I was 16 years old. World champion from 16 to 21, 5 years in a row, from junior to adults. And by 21, I thought I had done pretty much what had to be done in that martial art world, which had and it was awesome. It was great. And I thought in 2004, it would be time for me to move on and retire at a young age. I was 21 and I was studying to become a civil engineer at that time, and I had a martial art karate school, lots of things going on. And out of the blue, the movie 300 was going to be shot in Montreal, and I have a lot of martial art friends that were going to be in it, and they all sort of ring me kind of in a approximate time frame, and they were like, "Hey, you want to audition and be like a stuntman?" And I was like, "This is fantastic, yes." So did the audition. It wasn't that good, I'll be honest. I sort of didn't understand what had to be done. I understood what they wanted, but didn't know what was the vision of like how we do it in movie world. Like, we're doing choreo two, like 1 versus 1, and I'm trying to go as fast as I can, which obviously it's no bueno. I was just trying to prove my capability of being like someone, good and understood the fights and memorized it, but that's not how it works. So did that, and then I became an SSC, which is like between a background guy and a stunt guy, kind of a gray zone in between. And that was my first job. And then right after, I got my first credits. So got tons of experience on 300. It was a fantastic show for me. Lots of a very good learning experience. And that's where it all began. So martial art was the entry door for my career right now.
Let's talk about the acting and the stunt coordination.
Yes.
How do these different roles come to you?
So I'll say the acting is kind of, I think when you're a stunt performer nowadays, or I mean, I started in 2005, I think you need to sort of be able to act. You're doing like physical acting in a sense. So I think that was because of the live performances in the martial art world before, with the forms and the extreme stuff and performing in front of people. I think the acting was kind of already there in a way. I'm not a great actor. I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. But at least the background in acting was there, so that was good. And then the coordinating, I was working a lot with Jean Frenette, and he was my mentor when I started, and I was really like on his core teams all the time and designing fights and doubling and doing a lot of stuff for him. But I learned a lot of aspects about coordinating with him, the previs, the budgets, like how it's supposed to be done. And then because he offered me a few cover coordinating opportunities at first, I started learning the process and how it works. And then that was maybe in 20, that was kind of early on, 20, I'll say 13, 14. I started covering a lot. And then I started getting my first few shows in like 2015, 16, where I covered way more. I was co-coordinating or that type of stuff until I got the bigger jobs. So yeah, that was because I think I own a business as well in the martial art world. This was always something that's really, obviously it's not a business per se, but it's something that's really, you got to be able to perform, understand the performance aspect of it, but also being able to comprehend all of the the logistics, how it works, the breakdown, the director's vision, like all that stuff. So it felt more related to like a business aspect of it, which I really enjoyed in my life prior to that. So I think that was a good tool before I got started into coordinating.
We interviewed John Frenette
There you go.
on the show. He's quite a
Fantastic.
guy. He is quite a guy.
He's got many stories.
He sure does. Sure
A
does.
good Frenchman, another good Frenchman.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yes.
What are you working on right now, JF?
So right now I'm coordinating with Billy Lucas, Fubar season 2 with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So and Monica Barbaro. We're having a fantastic time. We're actually wrapping up right now. Our rehearsal space is all torn apart, unfortunately. So this was our last sort of stretch. Another exciting season. We're very happy, very proud of what we did this season. It was great to work with the cast. Our stunt doubles were fantastic. Our rigging team, our core team, everyone was just like top level and very good. And for me, working with a legend like Billy Lucas is just like absolute pleasure. And the guy is just more than amazing. He's great. He was Arnold's stunt double for like 25 years. So he's got tons of experience. And for him to, welcome me into co-coordinating with him and, doing this team thing was just like fantastic. So I had the best of time and our season was really good. No injuries. Everything went flawless. So we're very proud and very happy this season. It'll be good. Next May on Netflix. It'll be good.
Great. Tell us about some of the most memorable parts of your TV and movie experience.
Wow, that's a good question. I mean, so many good experiences. For me, I'll say I'll pinpoint something to one of my most challenging job in my career, which was actually with John Frenette, was Pompeii that we shot in Toronto. I was lead double of Kit Harington, which plays Jon Snow in Game of Thrones. So I was doubling him for the 6 months that we were on the show. I've got badly injured on my ankle during the shoot. So I had to sort of keep going, and it's pretty much what we do. If we can keep going, we keep going. But I've learned a lot of things. It was a very big show, big job. I was kind of assisting Jean as well at that moment. I was also lead double. There was a lot of tasks, a lot of fights to be done, a lot of logistics. It was a big thing, and for me, that was kind of a pivot point in my career where I was performing a lot, and it was lots of good gags and lots of ratchets and big stunts. But at that moment, doing a bit of both was kind of fun, but also, it was challenging. And I learned a whole lot on that show. So for me, Pompeii is very special in my heart because that's when things sort of shifted into coordinating a bit after and onwards. But yeah, that's in terms of that. For the rest, I mean, I've done couple of good gags in my career, which I'm very happy and proud, and I've got some good memories on my body. But yeah, did tons of good ratchets on Warcraft. I did a very good ratchet on X-Men, which I got nominated for hardest hit for the Taurus Awards. I went face first into a wall. That was great. So yeah, I did a lot of wow things back when I was performing. But yeah, I think Pompeii is kind of a game changer for me. So that was a good experience.
Pompeii is on my list to talk to you about. Tell me about Milo's father.
That was fun. Yeah, so basically the story there's kind of a funny story to it. So since I was doubling Kit, people wanted to cast Milo's father because they were like, "Hey, so who's going to be, the long hair, this that kind of looks like him?" And it kind of went around. I think I can't remember now. I don't want to say some lies, but I think it went on for like a week or whatever. And then at some point the director was like, "Hey, well, what about JF?" And then Jean was like, "Yeah, what about JF?" And then Jason, someone in our core team, was like, "Yeah, what about JF?" And then it started, little bits and pieces. And they were like, "Yeah, what about you? Like, you could play Milo's father. Like, you kind of look like him because of the wig and this, that." And obviously I was doubling him. So yeah, the idea came about. And then they were like, "Well, let's make it happen." So that's how I got the role, just like by being a double and kind of looking like him at that point. They were like, "Well, let's just put him as his dad and it's going to work out fantastically." So that's how it happened. So I think they were kind of not in a stuck situation, but it was kind of like, "Hey, what are we going to do with this?" And I was just right there, and they sort of went with, "Hey, let's go with JF. It's going to work out perfectly." And it was very like lots of fun, actually kind of easy. I had to fight, which was, something I've been doing for a while, and then a bit of acting, and yeah, it happened. It was good.
That's wonderful. I also have X-Men Apocalypse on my
Yes.
list. with Jennifer Lawrence and James McAvoy.
Yes.
What can you tell us about working with them?
Fantastic people. I didn't like I worked a bit more with Jennifer and I worked a bit with her on Mother as well, another feature. I thought she was a very good actress, to be honest. She was very professional and very good. I didn't interact much with James. I heard good things about him though, that he played like he was very, what can I say, very professional and very anchored into his role. But yeah, Jennifer was fantastic. I interacted a bit with her and she was great. A little fight with her and then did a little something on Mother. And yeah, she was a real gem to work with. So nothing but good things to say about her. It was great.
And how about Suicide Squad with,
I
with the two beauties, Margot Robbie and Viola Davis?
Yes. Well, I'll start by saying that Suicide Squad was kind of a very high profile dream job because we were like 20 stunties in the core group. And it was to work with, for me, my generation, to work with Will Smith is kind of like, hey, this is Will Smith right there. You know, we've watched The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when we were young and, you know, all this thing. So it's kind of like, this was a big deal and it was kind of, I'm not like, because we work with like tons of you know, celebrities and all, I'm not starstruck or you know, we just work with them, we train with them, we do all this jazz. But seeing Will Smith for the first time was kind of like, hey man, that's pretty cool right there, you know? Like there was a little moment, I gotta say, that I was like, oh man, like Will's right there and we're training with him and we're doing this fight sequences and he gets to kill me a couple of times. So that was good. That's for the Will Smith part of it. But then we had like three big sequences we had to do. We were playing EAs, which were like the dark sort of, not monster, but we had the dark kind of look with the little eyes and all that stuff. So we had three big sequences and we did some pretty good gags on it. I had to fight Croc at a certain point and get slammed and explosion. And then we had a couple of wire work happening around in the office sequence with Will and Margot. And yeah, that was a great experience. I worked on this for like 3 4 months with rehearsals, a lot of rehearsals in previous time before we shoot. But it was great. Like lots of good friends of mine worked on it as well that were stunties, and we had just had a blast and did a couple of very good stunt gags on this show. So that was exciting. A lot of good physical stuff. So yeah, it was good. It was a real good one.
Let's go to a TV series where you were the stunt coordinator, Cruel Intentions. What can
Yes.
you tell us about that?
All right, so this is not out yet, so I can't tell much about it, but this was an exciting show because obviously this is a remake of the feature that happened a while back. So they made it into a TV show, which was very fun to do because for me, sometimes, you know, we build a stunt is always, especially as a stunt coordinator, it's always challenging and fun to do these big epic stunt sequences, but it is also very challenging for us to do sequences that are serving the story way more than being like an action moment. So I think for me, what I really like when I'm a stunt coordinator is really to try to put enough action to tell the story right and not just sometimes go over the top with something that you're like, oh yeah, right. Like this wasn't the actor, or that's not in the story, or that was way too much. Or, you know, if it's under, then it's not good as well. But just serving the story in a perfect sort of tone and in a perfect sort of way where you understand, oh, that wow, did the actor do that or did this happen for real? Like for me, this is really important. And Cruel Intention was a perfect TV show to do all of that. It was just like little gags here, a bigger fight sequence there, a little party sequence that happened and turned into something over there. So I can't tell too much about it because it's not out yet. But it was fun, lots of fun. The cast was fantastic. Lot of young actors that were playing in it and that are up and comers, and they were all great, very talented folks. So it was good. Very good experience. I had a great time on it.
When is it scheduled to come out?
I'm not too sure. I gotta check. I know they've completed their work. I think it's picture ready. I think it's gonna come out on Amazon. I'm just not sure about the dates. I would have to look it up, but it should be soon, my assumption, because we wrapped it up end of last year. So yeah, it should be coming up soon. I imagine probably this fall or something. So yeah.
Well, what do you consider your greatest accomplishments, JF?
I'll say this. There's a few I'm proud of, but the one I'm really, really proud of is being for me, like I work mainly in Toronto and my family's in Montreal, and being able to still have, you know, my wife, the kids, everyone, and we're trying to make it work. Weekdays, I'm out there. On the weekends, I travel back and I do this back and forth thing for several months at a time. And they come and visit me as well. And I'm really proud to say that, you know, we're trying to make it work It's never easy and it's never like, perfect and wow, glamorous life and whatever. But we're trying to make it work, and it is working, and it's fantastic. And I'm really proud to be able to have my family and have a great time, but also being able to live the dream, which is for me, like, it's very, it's not, we can't take for granted the job we do, and it's a real privilege. And I'm really happy I'm be able to do it mainly in Toronto for me right now with the producers I'm working with and for. And I'm privileged enough to be able to have these relationships and be able to work away from home, but also being able to have a family life with my beautiful wife and kids. And I'm really proud to be able to merge all that in one single pot and make it all work. So this, I'm very proud. Now, on a personal level, I mean, I'm going this weekend, but this is my second nomination at the Emmys for What We Do in the Shadows. So obviously, this I'm very proud of being nominated a second time for Best Stunt Coordinator with Teak Fong. And yeah, I've won a couple of things in the past with ACTRA and SAG and the Taurus World Stunt Award being nominated. Like all this is, I think it's fun because it's kind of it's a little something about the work you put behind it, and it's a little something we all don't need it. We just kind of work hard and we work in the shadows, and we try to make the shows that we do as best and as good and as safe as possible for performers and people working in the core team. But being able to get a little, how can I say, a little applaud, a little tap in the back once in a while with these nominations and whatnot, I mean, it's always good. So I'm real proud of that, and it showcases the team behind it. Like obviously I do part of it, but there's a big team behind it and some special people that are always around and making it the product that we see. So I'm real proud of all that. So for me, it's this on a personal level, I'm kind of proud, but it represents the work behind it. I'll say that.
And what about some of your biggest career challenges?
I mean, there was a few. I think I'll try to go in order, but first of all, being able to be a stunt performer, I just mentioned it, but it's a privilege. It's not everyone that could make it. It's hard to work steadily, show to show, year after year. I tell everyone, I'm like, hey man or girl, it's like we're flavor of the month, like who knows when it's gonna stop. You can't take it for granted, and you got to really be appreciative of the chance that we got to be here. At the same time, we put the effort and the work into it. That being said, I think first being like a stunt performer that could work all the time, the challenge was that you work for some people and then some people don't like it. There's politics involved. There's like you work in Montreal, then you work less in Toronto, you work more in Toronto, then all of these various challenges with politics and who's hiring you. That was kind of hard in the beginning because you're trying to spread the word, and I'm not the type of guy that's going to bring my resume to everyone, just be like, oh, hopefully they hire me. But building these relationships to be able to work for many coordinators at first as a stunt performer, I think that was the first challenge. And being able to work as much as I can as a performer, that's already the first challenge. Now, second challenge, coordinating, totally different ball game. I mean, you're going from performing and having all these, I'll call them like branches on your finger, going like, oh yeah, like I could work for this guy, that guy, this guy. Now, when you're coordinating, you're working for a few producers. And when you're booked on a show and that producer calls you for another job and you're not available, he's going to turn around and go with another coordinator. And maybe that coordinator is doing a fantastic job and he'll keep him for future shows. So it's hard to be able to entertain all these relationships with multiple producers at the same time, because most of the time you're busy for a period of 4 to 7 or 8 months, and then you're like, hey, sorry, I can't do it, or I wish I could help you. And you're trying to cater to them, but it's really difficult because you're locked in for a long period of time. The challenge by being a coordinator is entertaining all these relationships and being able to work 3 years later or something like that with a producer that you're like, oh, I wish I could help you out, but there's no time. So very challenging to be able to work steadily with many producers because you're booked several months at a time. And then the last challenge is obviously the branch of second unit directing. Very, very hard to get into. I mean, we shoot previews for stunt sequences we do all the time, but this is a very niche category. There's a lot of them that exists. So this is the last sort of challenge, which is, how to enter that sort of avenue. So yeah, these are big challenges that we face through our career. And obviously that's without counting the injuries and, the regular stunt performer stuff. That's just part of the game. You're just crossing fingers that you don't break something or you have a sprain or whatever it is that puts you out of the game for a while. So yeah, I would say these are the main challenges, I think, on my end.
And what's the difference between second unit directing and your other roles as say, as a stunt coordinator?
So I'll say this, like nowadays, I think a coordinator needs in his toolbox the previs aspect of it, because most productions are asking now to see the scene before we shoot the scene. So basically our job is to engineer stunt previses, which we try to do even on set proper to showcase the scene before it even happens. So with the stunt doubles and all, we'll figure out with the core team the scene, how it's going to go down with the previs guy, the edit, the whole shebang, where we're going to shoot the scene, present it to the showrunner and the director, the writers, and everyone on the, I call them the top of the pyramid, but everyone up there saying, hey, like this is our, like after talking with you guys, the vision you transcended and told us, well, here's the product that we think you want. And then we push this forward and waiting on feedback to come around to see, hey, is this exactly what we're going to shoot? Do you want to amend stuff? Are we in the right zone? Do we need to reshoot it? So that's a big part of the job that we need to do now. Before it was kind of like read the script, talk with the director, have a vision, a little rehearsal, boom, show on set, everyone's happy, and we do it. But nowadays they want to see previses, which brings the game a tiny bit, I'll say, higher and a bit more difficult in terms of prep, because you want to arrive with a product that's like, you don't want to arrive with a previs that's like half ready. You want to be like, this is it. You know, we're going to invest energy and time, and you want to present a version of the scene which is really similar that what we're going to shoot. But now by saying that, obviously it's kind of directing a previs, you know, you're kind of shooting it before they shoot it. So obviously I imagine for directors or a showrunner or producer, they see a stunt coordinator nowadays, I'm not talking about just myself, but stunt coordinators in general, they see them as part director or potentially second unit directors if they're not already, or even fully directors, because we got to shoot these scenes before they actually shoot them. So it gives a chance to do a lot of these directing things. And then actors we bring in early on in the stage to really practice with them and make sure they're really as prepared as possible to shoot the action sequence. So that's another aspect that we really spend a lot of time on. So then the actors, while you're doing these rehearsals, you try to pay attention with the director and all the notes you've received before. Hey, you're going to do this because this, and that. And then the director will fill you in on this part, but we can tell you that much. And then there's all these relationships being built with the actors and also directors and the producers. So angling it to the second unit directing is kind of a way now for stunt coordinators to pursue. It's not all stunt coordinators that are going to go there, but I think the main people doing bigger shows, it's kind of a branch that I'll say opens up or is by default something that will be aligned at some point. So yeah, I'll say second unit directing is kind of an avenue that's possible afterwards for some of us, I guess.
And where do you hope to be in the next 5 years, my friend?
Very good question. I'm just happy and blessed to be doing what I'm doing constantly. Like for me, if nothing would change and I would get 1 or 2 big shows a year and I'm busy for 8 to 10 months and my family's great, if I'm identically in the same spot, I would be happy. That being said, I think my mindset being a world champion when I was young and then, you know, try to advance a career, it's hard for me to just wait and see what's going to happen. I'm always trying to see like what's next. You know, there's always a little part in my brain that's like, trying to see what's the next avenue, what can be, you know, what can be explored, what can be a potential new avenue. I would say if it would move on forward, most probably second unit directing for me is kind of an avenue I would love to explore and really be busy with. Like if I get a few chances, great. If I get one, perfect. If I get many, that would be outstanding. You know, that would be something I would love to do and explore. Directing like full on is something I'm mentally struggling with right now. I feel this is something that might come in the future. I'm just not sure if it's perfect at this moment right now. And there's all this coordinating big shows and the second unit directing possibilities. So I think maybe in a further future, directing more would be fun. It's definitely somewhere in there, but I would say closer range in the next 5 years, second unit directing would be fantastic. If I could do that and coordinate most of the time, I would be a happy camper. I'll say that.
That's great. Can you tell us about your heritage?
I mean, I'll say this. When I came into the business, there's obviously a few things that you see or, you know, the way that it works or was working, that you're always like trying to, I try to keep it in my brain and say, hey, if someday I could do something about it, if I'm coordinating or a higher up position, I hope I could change. And that's hopefully the heritage I'm going to leave by trying to change the game as much as I can to make it better. For example, like stunt performers working with me, I try to give them as much information as possible. I talk to them about a gray subject with a stunt adjustment. I talk to them about a lot of things. I'm trying to be as open as possible. I'm just trying to give them all the tools they need to succeed and give their best and 110% and, you know, have some fun, be safe, make some good money and have a good time. So for me, I'm trying to leave behind anything I can to bring the performers to a level where they feel like, hey, this is dangerous, but you know what? I'll give my 110% working with JF, and I really want to make this fun and good and as high energy and great as possible. If this I'm able to do and keep doing on the shows, I would be really happy and really proud. And people just generally being happy working with me, this for me is a good statement that I think something worked out good, worked out good. And then on the other end, I'm trying as a coordinator, and eventually if I second unit direct and whatnot, for me it's trying to build as many exciting action sequences that serve the story. For me, merging the story with the action and making it something very organic and very spectacular is, I think it's very hard to do nowadays because we've seen we've seen so much. Like our mind, our eyes have seen so many great features, TV shows with tons of great action. It's been seen. So what can we invent? What can we take from this show and make it our own? What can we, you know, how can we make it better by telling a story and not just spreading action into the audience eyes? So for me, if I'm able to leave that behind and kind of create all this in a safe manner, but in a very exciting way, I think I'll be very proud and happy. So hopefully I leave all this behind. That's in a stunt world. And then on my personal level, I hope my kids, my wife and my friends and everyone around me are, you know, I'm not there that often when we're working hard for a bunch of months trying to make a product, a TV show or a feature. And I hope everyone around me realizes all the sacrifices that needs to be done to serve people watching all this stuff, but also to have like a personal life and trying to have, you know, cater and have a good, you know, a good life for my kids and everyone around me, and just trying to serve that purpose as well, trying to be there if I can a bit of time. So yeah, that would be, I think that would be in a quick way what I would love to leave behind.
And how about your nationality?
My French roots, I'll say very proud. I think it serves me well. I think my French accent is slowly disappearing as it goes, but I'm very proud of being, you know, from Quebec and Montreal, and I'm trying to represent. And you know, in every set I'm on, we're always trying to pepper some French jokes here and there with the crew, so it's kind of fun to see that. But yeah, I'm very happy that I'm Canadian. Very happy that I'm from Montreal, and having the French language as well is serving a purpose, I think, sometimes, and is very helpful. And yeah, I think and also I'll say this, like this is a big industry and it's mainly, you know, North Americans are very strongly involved into the feature and TV world. But sometimes in our, you know, in the stunt world, I'm very proud to try to push the Canadian product. And I love working with American people. I'm not saying I don't like it. I love working in tandem, especially let's say with Bill Lucas on this project. But it's important also to show the world that Canadian people also have some kind of expertise and that could really shine you know, in a world way. Like it's not just, you know, it's not because we're coming to shoot in Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, that the talent and the experience is not there. So for me, being able to showcase, you know, everyone in the industry, but also Canadians specifically, saying, "Hey, look, we could also do that." You know, like we're here. This is kind of cool, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. Obviously I love working with everyone, and especially love working in tandem with my American friends. But to be able to showcase what we can do here, this for me is very important as well. So that would be with the Canadian roots.
Have you spent any time in France?
Well, not that much, to be honest. Like, I went there a lot when I was competing. I went there maybe 5 or 6 times, especially in Paris and around. I taught a lot of seminars there back in the days for karate. Did a few tournaments there as well. I think France is fantastic. Obviously, my roots are from Montreal, so it's funny when we speak the French language. It's kind of like when you're with Brits and Americans, and they both speak English, but it's not the same dialect. Same thing for France and Quebec. It's funny because we both speak French, but it's not the same, accent and same dialect. So it's funny to see that. But I love going to France. I mean, Paris is very, very beautiful city. Yeah, I love it there, but I haven't been there a long time. By saying that, I should go there. I should plan a trip there. That would be exciting. Romantic city in Paris.
You've mentioned your wife and your children a number of times.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about your wife?
So my wife is a big part in all this. She was there since the beginning. We started dating when I started 300, so in 2000. And I mean, she's been so supportive. I mean, like I was shooting in Switzerland when she was pregnant of our first kid, and literally I stayed on that project for 4 weeks over there, and I came back a week before she was expecting our first child. So I mean, she's a trooper. I call her Superwoman. She's doing, many months at a time by me not being there, and try to help and do whatever she can. And I'm trying to help and do whatever I can from Toronto or wherever I am in the world. And yeah, because she's been so supportive and great and fantastic. I mean, if she wasn't around, maybe part of what I'm doing right now could have been possible, but not all of it. I mean, she was instrumental in all this. And same with the kids. I mean, the kids have just been fantastic. And talking about the kids, I mentioned my first kid, but my second kid was born while we were shooting Immortals with Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill, which played Superman and all, his first big feature was Immortals back in the days with us in Montreal. And yeah, I mean, my wife delivered while we were shooting. So I left set, I went over there, did the baby thing, came back on set, went back to the hospital. So that was a great story. I have a great picture of this. I have my black eyes from set. I had sunglasses covering them. It's kind of dirty. It was, nurses are like, what the hell's going on here? And I'm like, yeah, I just came from the movie set. And everyone's like, what's going on? And then, spend 2 hours and phew, drive back, go back on set. It was a good story. But yeah, my kids are very supportive as well. I think they're excited. They've been, I think because they started this and they weren't born, I think they've just been immersed in that. So they're used to the fact that I'm here, I'm not there, and it's back and forth, and they see me in, out. So I guess they're cool with it. I hope they're cool with it. I'm doing my best for them to have a good time and a good life. But yeah, it's a weird. It's not. I'll say this. It's not for everyone. It's totally the opposite of a 9 to 5 and let's go on vacation in July. This is not it at all. Like our family pattern is just complete madness, completely non-conventional. But my wife, I think, likes it. And when we go on vacation afterwards, it's worth it. It's our little time, and we reconnect the family all together. And yeah, but it's people see it sometimes with the pictures and all. They're like, oh, they're so lucky, and they're going on trips, but they forget like 8 months before it was pure madness, and all these little bits of family moments or birthdays or this or that. I'm missing so many of them. It's insane. It's just like it's crazy. Last year at Christmas, it was my wife's birthday, and it was our Christmas time at our home. We were receiving my in-laws, and I flew from Toronto at like 7 p.m. and I made it home by like 9 p.m. And I spent literally 3 hours with them to take a plane at 5 a.m. the following morning and come back on set and shoot. I mean, but people don't see that. They see the nice picture and like, oh, he's home. But yeah, I was home for like 9 hours. It's and two flights in the middle of it. So yeah, sometimes by pictures it looks all nice and good, but in reality, it's sometimes a bit different. So I'm very grateful for them to be around and being very supportive, and very grateful to have all these beautiful moments that we can have afterwards, and going on these trips. For us, we just love traveling. So whenever we can, and I'm off a job, we just love to go ahead and try to explore the world and have a good time. And I'm very grateful and fortunate to be able to do that. So yeah, it's great, but very different.
Now, how would you like Jean-Francois Lachapelle to be remembered?
I mean, to put it in a very simple way, I hope people remember me as a cool guy that really enjoyed life and really enjoyed his work, and everyone, that are my main anchors around me, especially my family and people that I work with. If people can remember me with my smiley face and trying to have a good time, but also trying to do the best we can to, move forward and whatever aspect it is. It could be stunt, it could be anything we do, that we just try to push the envelope and showcase what we've got and try to do it in a safe and fun way. And for everyone around me being the, smiley, cool guy and trying to do the best for everyone around me and trying to be as generous as possible and grateful. If they remember me like that, I'll be very happy. I'll be good.
What have I missed, JF? Anything that you'd like to mention or pitch?
I mean, I think we covered a lot of things. I'm trying to think right now, fast, but that was fun. That was really good. I think we touched the family, we touched some stunt aspect of it, we touched the coordinating. Yeah, can you think of anything else? I'm just trying to think quick, but that was a lot of, I think we went through a lot of routes and a lot of, yeah, I think that was good.
Good, that's great.
Yeah,
Will you join us again in the future?
I sure,
Sharing updates in your
I
career.
yeah, for sure. I sure will. Exciting time. I'm going to the Emmys this weekend. We'll see what happens. Crossing fingers.
There you go.
We'll see what happens, but yeah, would be thrilled and it would be with great pleasure to be back on your show.
Well, be well, JF.
Thank you.
Thank you for the interesting conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and a pleasure to be to have spent time with you, and hopefully we do it again in the future.
Be safe.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And you will be happy too.